And I'm taking what they're giving because I'm playing for a living. Pun-based parodies of Huey Lewis songs from the 80s. That's my favorite, very specific genre of comedy. What's yours? Hit the comments. Let me know. You know, I just realized last episode was episode 10, and I didn't say anything about it. I counted all the episodes we've done so far up until 10, and then I said nothing about hitting our 10th episode landmark. That was terrible. So this is episode 11, and last episode was episode 10. So the moment's over. It's we can't ever get it back. That's the tragedy of this linear. That's the tragedy of this linear existence of ours. Welcome back, Way-Wo Real Ones. This is What Are You Working On? The weekly productivity / accountability show where I share with all of you what I've been working on this week, and then you hit the comments below this double chin and below this hoodied Captain America Iron Man clad chest to the comments. You hit the comments and you tell me what you've been working on, and you ask me questions and I answer them, and replies are always guaranteed. I'm here to help you stay accountable and be productive, and you're here to help me stay accountable and be productive. It's a beautiful thing that we're doing, and I think it's working out so far. I'm having fun. Are you having fun? Want to start out with a few shout-outs this week, particularly to some new folks who hit the comments for the first time in episode 10 last week. Starting out with Alistair Kane. Alistair, working on a couple of short stories, couple of novels. Try to figure out how to parse that dearth. Dearth? Is dearth the right word? How to parse that glut of writing advice and information that's out there on the internet and figure out what's good advice, what's bad advice, who to listen to, what questions to ask, all that stuff that we deal with when we're first starting out. Good luck with that, Alistair. Of course, my advice is the best advice, so stay tuned for that, obviously. Also want to shout out Stephen Geigen Miller, first-time commenter last week, though Stephen, I of course recognize you from Twitter. Stephen's working on a new draft of a thing, as I recall, and revising another thing, and trying to balance doing those things and the writing thing. I'm saying thing a lot. It's a thing. But Steven, you're trying to balance work, day job type work with writing work. It's not a thing, it's work. That's better, I like that. And I empathize with that deeply because I struggle with that too. I've had this new gig for going on 3 weeks now. I have no idea how to get everything I need to get done. So, Steven, we're in it together. We're in it together, and we're gonna keep trekking down the road and figure it out. We're gonna figure it out, Steven. Finally, want to shout out Cheryl Rosenkrantz. Cheryl, you're starting down the road of writing work, as we determine it's work, it's not a thing. And Cheryl, friends, is moving from fan fiction to some non-fan fiction, which is a big transition. Love fan fiction, but good to branch out, get into your own wholly original ideas. There are no original ideas. That's a myth, but getting into your own legally distinct from other properties ideas. Cheryl, I wish you luck. And as I said last week in the comments, let me know how that's going. So yeah, shout out to you. Shout out to you, newcomers, new hashtag Way-Wo Real Ones. And of course, welcome back to all my existing Way-Wo Real Ones. If you didn't get shouted out on this episode, you will get shouted out on an episode eventually, I promise. Everyone should hear their name here on Way-Wo. So yeah, a large part of my work week actually involved playing video games. It wasn't a bucket list item, but it should have been, and I should have crossed it off, because that is an immensely cool thing. But yes, that was part of my actual working professional life this week, and my capacity as a video game narrative writer was to play video games and get familiar with a particular video game that I can't name because I can't get into too many details of what I'm working on, but I can tell you that was a big component this week. And it got me thinking back to early 90s as a kid. I was a big PC gamer. Like, I was like 80s Nintendo kid, and then I became a PC gamer in the 90s. And I have a deep-seated spot in my heart for those awful FMV full motion video games from back when like CD-ROMs were just becoming a thing. And people were like, we can put real people and real actors in games. And most of the games were just like watching horrible movies rather than playing games. But I have a deep affinity for those. And one of my favorite companies from back then was Digital Pictures. They made games like Supreme Warrior and Night Trap, which was very infamous on the Sega CD, and Scottie Pippen, Slam City, featuring Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen, who of course made video game history by being the first professional basketball player to rap his own video game intro, because ain't nobody tripping, skipping Scottie Pippen. I'm the only person who remembers that. I'm the only person in the world who remembers the words to the opening rap sung by Scottie Pippen about Slam City. Anyway, I remember back in the day, Digital Pictures did a behind-the-scenes featurette about the making of their games. I saw it when I was like 11 or 12, and they went into the Digital Pictures offices, and they talked to all the game testers. And that was the first time they were interviewing all these game testers, and that was the first time I realized there were grown adults who get paid to play video games every day. This was, 25 years before Grandma's Boy came out. So this concept blew my mind. And I'm like, I can't even imagine a world in which my job is to play video games. And my job still is to play video games, but just the idea that I got paid this week in part to play video games really took me back there and realized that it brought me full circle in a very weird and cool way. So yeah, I'm enjoying the new video game writing gig. I'm trying to get my feet. I'm adjusting. It's a new world. It's a new team. It's a new medium for me. I am managing to finally, I'm closing in. I'm honing in on the end of Savage Bounty, the current novel, the second book in my Savage Rebellion series, which begins next year, spring of next year. The first book's coming out. And I hope to God it sells. But I'm working on the second one now. I'm almost into the final round of POV chapters for the main characters, and it's very exciting to be finally be getting really close to the end. And it's just hard because I've got so much going on right now. I haven't had set writing time every day. I haven't had consistency because so much new stuff has been hitting me, and I'm still settling into the gig, the video game writing gig. So I still feel a little discombobulated, but I feel like the end is there, and I will finally finish this book, and that is a good thing. I also recorded with Mur Lafferty this week. We recorded a new episode of Ditch Diggers. We're trying to get back to consistent weekly content with the Ditch Diggers podcast, our Hugo Award-winning podcast about the business of being a freelance writer. We feel like we've stagnated a little bit, honestly, with the podcast. I was talking with Mur about it. Our Patreon, we have a Patreon. If you didn't know that, if you want to go support us on Patreon, that'd be fantastic. Our Patreon is kind of capped for a long time. Our audience numbers have kind of capped for a long time. And even though we won a Hugo last year, we didn't get a nod this year. And we're just saying, we need to figure out a way, if we're going to keep doing this, to take it to the next level. So we brought on Alistair Stewart, owner of Escape Artists Family of Podcasts, and Hugo nominated fan writer. One of the best commentators on the field out there is Alistair. He's come onto the Ditch Diggers team. He's writing features for the Ditch Diggers website. We're expanding beyond the podcast. We're trying to get back to weekly content with the podcast, doing one regular episode and then one mini 20-minute ditch, what we've been calling 20-minute ditches. And yeah, just trying to change up the game a little bit and get that going more. And if you haven't checked out the Ditch Diggers podcast, please go do that. There's always a link in the show notes. Show notes, that's a podcast term. There's always a link in the description below. Description is the YouTube term for show notes. Go check that out because I'm very proud of it. I believe, and it's not just another horseshit podcast. Not to call anybody else's podcast horseshit, but I take the time to do it even with everything else I have to do because I believe in educating and advocating for writers, because every industry that employs writers is deeply broken. So, and I'm not we're not going to solve it with a podcast. It's I said this when we won the Hugo last year, it's a little thing we do. It's just a podcast, but I believe in it, and I believe it brings value, and I believe it helps people. So yeah, I believe in it, and I recorded with Mur, did that. That was one thing. Another thing I did this week, and we're trying to figure out how to kind of bring new attention to it and pump up those Patreon and subscriber and listener numbers, and we'll see how that goes. I'll let you know. What else? It was an eventful week. Bump, my middle grade novel, is finally going out into the wild, into the publishing wild. It's going to editors and all the big publishers that publish middle grade novels after I finished it a couple of months ago, and since then I've been working on fine-tuning it with my agent. He put the pitch together, and it's going out there to hopefully somebody will buy it. So that's a big deal. My agent's also sending around a new pilot script that I wrote to a couple of people, And I have anxiety about all these things because it's the first time people will be reading all of these things that I finished and that are big projects to me and could hopefully become big things for my career or middling things for my career or just another thing in my career. I'll take any of the above, really. But yeah, so all that's going out and I have a lot of anxiety about it, but I'm excited about it. One person I was waiting to read the pilot, that same pilot, liked it, which is a big deal. I don't want to like name drop and say who it was, but it was a producer and a filmmaker who I'm a very big fan of and respect a great deal. So the fact that they enjoyed it, just like personally makes me feel good, and then professionally we'll see if it goes anywhere. You never know. But those things are going out, so think good thoughts for those things. I think that's everything from this week that I can talk about. I wish I could get into the minutia and the process of video game writing more. Hopefully down the line I can, but again, I can't really talk about specifics of like what game and what I'm doing. I can only talk in general terms, and I tried to do that to the best of my ability. But yeah, book, trying to finish it, video game writing, trying to adjust to it, new stuff going out, podcast being recorded, new episode being shot. I'm a busy bee. Busy bee. So yeah, it's your turn. Hit the comments. Let me know how all of your stuff is going. How are your projects? It's not just about writing on what are you working on. I want to hear about it all. It doesn't matter. School, day job, other creative pursuits. Hit the comments. Bring me up to date on how that's been going. If you're new, like Steven and Cheryl and Alistair, hit the comments and let's get started with developing the rapport. You know, I really like what we got going on here, and I want to keep it going. So yeah, hit the comments. Let me know. It's your turn to talk. I'll stop talking now. Finally, before I sign off, gotta give a Mother's Day shout out. Mother's Day is Sunday. To my mother, Barbara, my biggest fan, my longest term supporter. Wrote a lot of my earliest works under her roof that she provided for me. And I love you, Mom. You've always been amazing. You're the best. Thank you for everything you have done and continue to do. And happy Mother's Day to my mother, Barbara. That's it for this week. You have until next Friday to make some more stuff happen and have some more stories to tell me. And I have every confidence that you will. Until then, I wish you good fortune, and I'll see y'all in the comments below. Please, folks, please do subscribe and hit the little bell icon thingy so you get notified when new episodes come up. Please do like this episode. These things matter. They help me. And please do go share what we're doing here on your social media channels. That would really mean a lot to me. Go use the hashtag #WayWillRealOnes and go tell people that you've got this thing that you watch every week and that you participate in that helps you, and maybe it'll help them. I'd really like it if you do that. Thank you very much. All right, so that's hashtag Team Hamshackle, hashtag #WayWillRealOnes. I will see you next Friday. I am out of here.